It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to
Check
Daniel
1,
Stark.
2.
They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extra. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level
Bathroom, yeah, go ahead.
down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
All right, is this thing on? It should be on right now. Hopefully it is, right? Let me do a little check here. Just hang in there with me because I'm solo right now. Okay, so let's go. I want to see if this sounds okay. It should be on right now. Oh, we're good. All right, we're good. It is the Pete Souza Show. We are live. We're in Maui, and we're wrapping up a nice little weekend where it was a vacation, right? I haven't done one of these in a long time. I'm here with the fam, and it's been a blast. But I have been sitting on the sidelines while so much has been going on. Right now, the NBA Finals is going on. I am throwing the towel in. I am playing the odds here. There's no way the Pacers come back again. Right now, they're down by 20. Shea Gilgeous just buried another J, make it down 22, 109 to 87. Am I surprised by this? No, not at all. By the way, how could I forget our sponsors? We are presented by Slovacics. We're also presented by, you can't forget about Crawford Austin Properties. A huge opportunity coming up with Socorro Family Ford to do more with them. Of course, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Extraco Banks, First National Bank of Central Texas. Thank you to everyone for making this a possibility. But the finals and what's happening right now, how it's playing out, doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, it reminds me of something. And as a Sixers fan, I can't help but to think about 2001, when the Sixers basically went into, I think it was Staples Center at the time, but they totally stole game one from the Lakers. And they ended up losing the next 5 because the Lakers were just that much better than the Sixers. And although it was super exciting to see Iverson hit that corner 3 and step over Ty Lue, you had the vibe going, right? That the Sixers, it was fool's gold. And it turns out that it was, right? Not that the Sixers didn't scrap and play awesome in that game 1 to win. And honestly, the Sixers, I'm going to go ahead and say this now. I believe that the Sixers will have kept it closer. I mean, the Sixers they could have won game 2 in the 2001 series. They definitely could have won game 3, got into a ton of foul trouble. I think game 4, one of them went to overtime, and then game 5 was just a blowout. But I think that the Oklahoma City Thunder is that much better than Indiana. And the thing about let's talk a little bit. Let's check out the box score here. So obviously the game is still going on. Tonight's box score. Let's take a look at Halliburton. 6 for 12 from the floor, 2 of 7 from 3. Doris Burke was just talking about this moments ago, that he hadn't attempted a shot outside of the paint, and that was, I think, with a few minutes left in the third quarter. That's not gonna do it, right? Like, you need your guy to at least get into the paint, get a touch. If he is your number one scorer, that will open up the entire offense. Is Indiana settling on threes? Probably a little too much, but again, it's a situation where I just think the Thunder is that much better. There was a reason why they were a 7-1 favorite to win this series. I feel like TJ McConnell should play more. Every time I look up and McConnell is in the game, the ball moves like super fast. It doesn't stick to anybody, and I feel like the Pacers are able to produce. Again, I'm looking at it now. They're down 20 with under 5 minutes left. And another thing to consider, too, the Pacers continue to make these amazing comebacks, and they're in the NBA Finals. But at some point, too, like, you are who you are. If you're constantly down by 15 points, if you're constantly down by 20 points, you're probably not the better team top to bottom. And I think that it's really hard to I'm saying this, they're probably going to end up coming back. But it's difficult to be the cardiac kids, right? Halliburton, 3 from the corner. Buries it. All right, the lead is now 17. We'll keep an eye on this one, right? But it's very difficult if you are that team that continues to make these amazing comebacks to sustain it and to take it to the finish line, right? And to ultimately maybe win in the NBA Finals. Again, if you're watching, this is not a mistake. I actually am doing a live show. Plan on doing more of a reaction show, but 111-94 is the score. I kind of came on when there was 20 minutes left. Look, we got dinner tonight. You know, I got the whole family here waiting on me. And I can't keep Christy waiting too long. Otherwise, she might get a little upset. By the way, Maui's unbelievable. I sliced my foot today. And it's not like I was in the water doing anything like magnificent. I was literally just like walking around like the bumbling tourist. And I sliced my foot, I guess, on some rocks or coral or whatever. I was doing a little body surfing, which, no surprise, I'm terrible at. But there's so much to do out here. I'd never been to Maui before. I mean, every time you turn around, there's just another breathtaking piece of scenery. I'm so lucky to be here, so pumped to be here. My brother Kevin, who passed away, spent a lot of time here at this Hyatt Regency Resort, which is where we're staying. They are amazing. We did Kapalua zip lines on, I guess it was Thursday, which was amazing. We did the Road to Hana yesterday. Haleakala National Park. We did a luau here. We've been moving and grooving nonstop. Today we had a nice day. Got a cabana by the beach. And tomorrow, of course, it's time to go home. And right now it's back to work time. Again, we'll keep an eye on the finals. A couple things I wanted to address as far as just a ton of stuff has been happening while we've been here, and a ton of stuff that interests me. The NBA ratings are the first thing to talk about. Lowest ratings, right? We saw the stories since 1988, since they started to, I guess, follow this stuff, right? And clock it. I would have figured it would have happened earlier than that, but I saw 1988 as the date. And I can't imagine. I guess you'd go back to the, tape delay days of the early 80s, maybe when the ratings were worse, right? I know the Sixers, I know the Magic Johnson Game 7 in Philly, where he ended up winning the MVP when Kareem was hurt. That was a tape delay. I don't think that the ratings being down is any reflection on the NBA or where the sport is at all. In fact, I, of course, was taking notes today, looking some stuff up. So the Eastern Conference Finals averaged 7 million. That was on Turner, right? Whether it was on True TV or TNT, that's up 10% from last year, and doesn't even factor in all the social media stuff that the NBA has been doing, and it's been booming here, right? The NBA has, I guess, let me see this number right here. 32 billion social media imprints across all NBA platforms this season. That is up 62%. Okay, let's keep an eye on this one here. I'm seeing a montage of Thunder highlights, which is, still 17 points, 4 minutes left. And thanks everybody for watching. We got about 10,000 people watching on Twitter. So I'm pumped that we're hanging out here on this Sunday night as you guys get tucked in maybe on the East Coast or back Central Time where I'm from. But I don't think it's any indication the NBA's low ratings in Game 1, and I would say likely Game 2. It's not an indication of the quality of the NBA. It literally is this is what happens. And I don't care what you say. Yeah, at the NBA offices on Park Avenue, they would they would rather see New York, LA, or even Golden State. And I say even just because that team is somewhat over the hill, but their media market, you think about San Francisco, I think it's 7th in the country, or, even Phoenix is top 12. I say even Phoenix, great place to live, but we're talking now numbers and size. When you are looking at Indiana, right? And you look at Oklahoma City, I think it was Indiana, their metro population. So that's Indianapolis, right, and surrounding areas. It is, again, I wrote it down. That's 2.2 million people, okay? Oklahoma, that's 22nd in the NBA, that ranks, okay, as far as NBA market size. You look at Oklahoma City, they're ranked 26, 1.4 million in their metro population. That is obviously Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas. Okay, there's 19 million people in the New York City metro area. Okay, so that's I'm not great at math, but it's 17 million more people than these cities, right? So it's literally just a bad draw. And the fact that every time you turn around, Indiana, and again, I'm sure there's a statistic on this that I don't have right now, but the average margin of victory throughout this series for Oklahoma City has probably been about 17 or 18 points or 15 points or something like that. They only trailed when Halliburton hit that three, as I'm keeping an eye on the game right now, raising from three. There's a foul called. So we got 3 free throws, an opportunity for Indiana to cut it to 16 as they're down by 19 right now. And there's 2:42 left. So this one's kind of playing out. But look, I do want to say, this is not a knock on the NBA. It's not an indication as to where the NBA is as a whole. The NBA is very healthy. I know from where I'm from, a lot of my really good friends, middle-aged white dudes, right? I have plenty of friends who aren't middle-aged white dudes, but I have many who are. And I can tell you that some of them are watching the NBA more than they ever have this postseason. I mean, there have been so many amazing games and amazing finishes too. I don't know that this series Again, as I look now, Indiana cuts the lead to 18. I don't know if this series has had like amazing competition in the 2 games so far, but it had one amazing finish, a heroic finish. And Tyrese Halliburton, I still will say and Scotty Swingler will argue me about this all day long. There's still something lacking there. Their consistency is lacking. Look, tonight, right now, okay? He has 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting. Again, you want him to be who he is. He's got 6 assists, but this is not about what Tyrese Halliburton is trying to do on the floor. It's what jokers like me are trying to label him as. And right now, to say he's like a superstar, I just don't believe the consistency is there yet. And again, my buddy Scotty Swingler, who makes another Tyrese Halliburton video every time you turn around, right? And good for Scotty. I think there's a lot there to like about Tyrese Halliburton, but I'm just not saying that he's one of the elite dudes. Or he is elite, but he's not a superstar, okay? And when you look at superstars, like he's not like Charles Barkley, right? I'm going to go old school. He's not obviously Michael Jordan. He's not a Magic Johnson. He's not a Kareem. He's not a bucket. He's not a bucket getter, and you need bucket getters if you're going to be a superstar. You need to be a bucket getter. That is in my opinion. I need you to have the ball, and me cheering for my team, I'm like, oh, my God. Like, this guy's got the ball. He's a killer, right? If you're a Celtics fan, back in the 80s, every time Andrew Toney had the ball, you knew he was a killer. Now, he wasn't a superstar, but you at least had that feeling, right? So I don't think that Halliburton is really the superstar that everybody wants to label him right now, but that's just my opinion. A lot of people have different opinions on that. I'm holding firm on that. And it remains to be seen if I'm proven wrong, because I have been proven wrong many times. One thing I was not proven wrong on, I did a video from here because I was like freaking out about this story, was Jay Wright to the New York Knicks. And I did a quick short here. Christy's down there coming back from the old cabana. It's great too. By the way, when you're here for long enough, if you're just watching them, I'm in Maui. Is it on Maui? I don't even know. I'm not that credentialed. But when you're in a place like this, paradise can be so awesome that you get used to paradise, right? Like this is our 7th day here. You walk around this resort. It's like you're walking around a college campus by the end. Not so much in its style and the way it's outfitted, but in the relationships you develop with people all over. And again, I talked about my big brother, Kevin. I know I'm all over the place. Just bear with me. I've got so much to say. Kevin came here. He surfed here. If you're just watching or you're just catching up on this, you have no idea about me or my story. Kev passed away 2 years ago from skin cancer. And, of course, he would be chuckling at the fact that I'm not putting enough sunscreen on, but I need to. There's a bridge I'm looking at this bridge in this resort where some of his ashes were put here by his wife, because this place, Maui, was so important to him. So I can sort of feel him out here, which has been like super emotional for me. I went up on that Kapalua zip line and there was a sticker of him, a picture of him. So like, this has been like a very fulfilling trip for me. I still struggle with the grief process. I don't know about you guys. I still can't like find that gear to really like, I still have like a couple good sobs left in me, I think. And bad transition here. I think the crying might be happening right now for Pacers fans as they're down 15 with a minute left. Honestly, though, you're going back to Indiana and you're tied 1-1. That's like best case scenario. By the way, the Thunder was favored by 10.5 tonight, last I saw. And, man, they've been covering a lot in the playoffs, right? You got to rule out I guess it was Thursday night's game. And I'm looking at Halliburton's line right now, 17 points, 12 points in the fourth quarter, just 5 points in the first 3 quarters. So he's got to play better earlier on. But again, I've been bouncing all over. I talked about the NBA and their ratings. Yeah, I just don't think that is any kind of reflection of the league right now. I think the league is fine. The health of the league is fine. I think that they just got a bad draw with these two teams. Now, part of that, when I was talking about Halliburton not being like a superstar, and I mentioned superstars or bucket getters, I got to talk about this, okay? Lance Stephenson and Michael Beasley, that game, that one-on-one game for $100,000. That was a great idea. I forget who put it together. I knew, I don't want to say I knew, but like Michael Beasley's going to win that game every time. Michael Beasley was one of the best players on the planet for a while, and he's gone through some stuff well documented, like mental health stuff, and like that has really played a role in what you would say his not living up to maybe his reputation going into. I remember when I was working for the Sixers in PR, Larry Brown was like an advisor, and he would go and scout, like, because he was like basically in between jobs. I think he had left the Pistons to go to the Knicks, and then he got fired by the Knicks or bought out or whatever, and he just kind of spent some time working in Philly as a consultant. But he would come back. I would be watching practice or be the PR rep at practice, and he would come back to PCOM, which is where the Sixers practice, and all I wanted to do was talk about Michael Beasley. I saw Michael Beasley again. I was in Manhattan for that game, and I don't think there's a better player in the country, let alone the Big 12. Larry loved Beasley, and, you know, Michael Beasley was that good. Lance Stephenson was a lockdown defender who had a great series against LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think it was 2013. And then he ended up pulling off a major league heist. The Hornets gave him way too much money, and we didn't hear much from Lance Stephenson. He was a great, like, contributing member of a team and a guy that you would want as a piece. He was not a star. And Beasley was up 4-0 in this game. Both dudes looked like they were in amazing physical shape. But through the end, obviously Beasley was just able to get buckets to win a one-on-one game. Lance Stephenson almost got into a fight with one of the people that was watching the game. I do think that the next time you want to do this, you probably want to improve security a little bit. I mean, like, that was kind of scary. But it was super intense. Again, it was for $100,000. And it urged me to send out this text to some of the Rogue Media family. Okay. So here was the question I asked. I asked Cam Stewart and I asked Scotty Swingler, and I answered the question myself. If you could pick a one-on-one matchup between two NBA cast-offs for $100,000, right? So first thought is you got to have two guys who need the $100K, right? Who needs $100,000? It looked like Lance Stephenson and Michael Beasley sure did. So I had my guys. I'm going to do mine last. I'll tell you. So Cam weighed in with this one, and we're going to go with it, even though one guy is a convicted murderer. He wants Javaris Crittenton and Jimmer Fredette. I mean, that is I would watch that. No question about it. And I think it's Javaris Crittenton every time. Scotty Swingler. First, Scotty weighed in with, like, again, I know I'm all over Scotty. Maybe it's because I miss him. He said Allen Iverson, 50 years old, and Steve Nash, 51. First of all, Steve Nash, at this point, we've all seen Allen Iverson recently, would run circles around Allen Iverson. Steve Nash would. Sorry. We're not talking about 2004. We're talking about 2025. Okay, and I said, hey, bro, like, we need, like, cast-offs, dude. I said, give me another duo. I need some dudes that will play for $100K like their life depends on it. And then he had a great one. Okay? Jonte Porter, just jettisoned from the NBA due to allegations which were proven of gambling. And Jonte Porter versus O.J. Mayo, which I think is a great one. He said J.R. Smith, too, versus O.J. Mayo, but I don't think J.R. needs it that bad. I think J.R., he was being kicked around for like I heard his name mentioned for a pretty big job. He didn't look, I don't think J.R. Smith is hurting for cash. Okay. So I liked his. Mine was a great one. Okay. Now, I don't think that Markelle Fultz needs the money right now, but I said Brandon Jennings against Markelle Fultz. I would love to see that. Is it Fultz or Fultz? The guy made so little of an impact, right, that I don't even know how to say his name. Probably the craziest story of all time of a number one draft pick. And I look forward to that documentary, by the way. The Markelle Fultz documentary. What the hell happen there. He's changing his shot. I mean, as a Sixers fan, it was awful, especially when you think that Tatum went after him. Let's not get too big into that. All right, what else did I want to talk about? So much. Oh, a couple of sports media wars, right? I was surprised. Of course, where does Stephen A. Smith go to break the news that he's coming back to Sirius Radio? Howard Stern, which I really enjoyed. By the way, I will tell you, Stephen A. has been on Howard Stern twice, 3 times now, including last week's interview. He was on once by himself to promote Straight Shooter, his book. He was on another time with Mad Dog Russo, who Howard loves to have on. But this was the best interview he ever did because he talks about the inner workings of the NBA. He talks about getting stories in the NBA. He talks about Leon Rose and how he is friendly with Leon Rose, but at the same time, he struggles with the way that Leon Rose handles the media. And I think that was all really cool stuff. He just gave great information, but a piece of information he gave that shocked a lot of people were that he's going to take over that 1 to 3 spot live on Sirius XM that leads into Mad Dog. And then he's going to be, after Mad Dog wraps up at 6 o'clock Eastern time, they're going to go back to Stephen A's show, replay it like they do the Stern Show on Howard 100. So it's almost like it's the Stephen A. Smith Mad Dog Russo channel. When you think about from 1 to 9 o'clock, that is 8 hours of programming. You'll have Stephen A. starting at 1 p.m. and then Stephen A. wrapping up the Stephen A. rerun. I guess that will be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're talking. I think I could be wrong. Maybe it's 12 to 2 and no. It's or maybe 12 to 3. I don't know, but you get the picture. So I guess they were told. And I listen to this show once in a while because I put it on before Mad Dog because sometimes I have that just on in my car. Michelle Beadle and Cody Decker. By the way, that show was they got an A in chemistry. Like I believe that Beadle can get along with just about anybody. I think she's like super talented. I always have said that, and she's compelling. And she was super positive and upbeat on this show. You know, there have been situations where you felt like she just didn't even want to be there, which like. The situation when she was on Get Up for ESPN. I mean, she literally said she was going to quit watching the NFL because of what was going on off the field with players. And it was like September. It was the beginning of the football season. And a few days later, she was gone from that show. I don't really know that. She doesn't even really seem like maybe she cares, maybe she doesn't. But what she did say was that she had an issue with Stephen A. Smith because all the way back to when she spoke up about that debacle with Ray Rice off the field and domestic violence. I think Stephen A. said some stuff that she didn't agree with. I really forget, but she just said, not a fan of his. She said this to Front Office Sports when she was asked to comment about going off her show, going off the air in favor of Stephen A. Smith. And I got to give Stephen A. Smith credit, and it sucks because, again, I'm like the number one Michelle Beadle fan. She's just super talented. But I don't even think he responded to her. Like, I don't even think he responded to her, which is almost like, ooh. And they did their show on Sirius for 2 days, her and Cody Decker, and they had a ton of fan support. Like, fans love those two. People really – there was like a little bit of a niche audience they found that loved the show. Mad Dog even admitted that on his show. And he said, look, I wish we could have done it better. I didn't know that they were going to, ink the deal. This is, the show is, the station is called Mad Dog on Sirius, but it's way bigger than him. His name is on it. He doesn't run the program. And I know you find that hard to believe, right? But he doesn't. So that was a big thing. I was like sort of bummed for Beadle that Stephen A. didn't even respond to her, which kind of, as far as I know, I haven't gone digging, but I didn't see anything. Another huge sports media war that I found to be super interesting, Pablo Torre and Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons, I think it was on his show last Sunday. Oh, no. It was on the Rewatchables about Heaven Can Wait, which I bailed on. I love the Rewatchables. They do an amazing job on The Ringer. It's usually Bill Simmons, Sean Fennessy, and they do have Van Lathan on a lot, Chris Ryan too. He's got one now that's up. I think it's Out for Justice, the Steven Seagal movie with Kyle Brandt joining him. But so here's Bill Simmons doing a 2.5 hour or 2 hour recap of the 1979, 80, maybe prior to that, 78 something. They're doing a recap of the movie Heaven Can Wait. And at some point during this podcast, again, I bailed on it. I don't know. He talked about Pablo Torre and how he compared it to the way that Warren Beatty's character in Heaven Can Wait would be covered by today's sports media because he ends up being a quarterback for the LA Rams. And he said that's a story Pablo Torre would like not give up on. And then he said something you guys already know about it. He said, Pablo is like almost a fake journalist, right? Or that is fake journalism. And he's been dining out on the Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson story for far too long. And it was, I think he said it was a effing joke. And then Pablo said, hey, I'd love to come on your show and answer some questions. And Simmons was like, yeah, please do. So I guess it was on Wednesday or Thursday or maybe Friday show. I don't even know. It's all blur now. Pablo Torre came on and the two of them went head to head. And like, I will say this in the most respectful, cordial, and well-delivered way, Pablo Torre did not bat an eye, sitting right across from Bill Simmons and told him like, hey, like you were kind of a dick to say that. And here's why it is a big story. And he got into, and I don't agree with everything that Pablo Torre says, he says it's a huge story because he's the highest paid state representative or the highest paid state employee in North Carolina. Simmons fired back and said, yeah, well, I can guarantee he'll give that program. There'll be a lot of money that North Carolina at Chapel Hill, right, UNC, is able to, there's going to be a return on investment there with Bill Belichick. So the two of them went back and forth, but it was very well done, like on both accounts. And I love stuff like that. Like it's a ridiculous story. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, but like, that's the world we live in today. And like, I don't know, as a card carrying fan of sports media and how things develop, I was there for it. Maybe that's my issue. I don't know, but I found it pretty interesting. And I thought that Pablo Torre handled himself very well. And if you haven't seen it, you can watch it. I actually watched it. I didn't even just listen to it, which shows the damage going on with me. But I found that to be super interesting. I do think, by the way, I'm in the middle of this Bill Belichick book, and it's by John Halberstam, and I always have to look it up because I always forget. But I was listening to it this morning, Education of a Coach. And it's by David Halberstam, excuse me. And it's all about Bill Belichick and just his journey as a coach. And I think it was written in 2017. I'm not done it yet. But it is a reminder like, whoa, this is a magnificent coach. And Pablo Torre tried to say during his conversation with Bill Belichick, like, hey, or his conversation with Bill Simmons, he said, hey, Belichick hasn't had like too many guys that have graduated from Belichick University go on to be great coaches. That was wrong. It was flat out wrong. Like Nick Saban worked for Bill Belichick in Cleveland. Pat Hill, who was a great coach at Fresno State, worked for Bill Belichick. Somebody else, Kirk Ferentz, who's like somehow still coaching in the Big Ten, was an offensive line coach for Belichick, either in Cleveland or in New England. And there were, and then of course you get the Eric Mangini arguments, the Romeo Crennel arguments, the Matt Patricia arguments, right? And I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Mangino, right? Like a bunch of guys who coached for Bill Belichick. That was Charlie Weiss too. Yeah, Charlie Weiss, I think. So there were a lot of assistants for Bill Belichick that just couldn't cut it, right, at the highest level. Josh McDaniels, another one. Well, guess what? Like, it's really hard to be a super successful coach in the NFL. So, like, to say that the Belichick coaching tree is barren of any fruit, I think is complete horseshit. And, again, I mentioned three guys, and you can laugh all you want about Pat Hill. Pat Hill's a great coach. I mean, he literally had Fresno State ranked for a while, and the guy walked away because he was just done coaching football. I think he's a radio analyst now for Fresno State, or at least he was at last check. But last check means last time I checked or was paying any attention. I do have a feeling now, okay? Like when you look at the whole overall body of work for Bill Belichick, and if you have people in your life who have money, honestly, like a lot of money, right? I don't think this is the first time a lot of us have heard a story about a guy who is aging and divorced and has a ton of money dating a younger woman. I don't think, look, it ain't my speed, okay? Like, and I think it's a little much, the whole age gap, all that stuff, like truth serum, right? Like, who am I to judge? But like, okay, a little much. But at the end of the day, like, it's a story as old as time. And I do think that this is a hiccup without question for Bill Belichick. But as far as like the destruction of his legacy, that could certainly still happen with this situation. But I think like we're extremely hyperbolic right now as a society because this story, there's so much juice to it. There's so much meat on the bone. I would just say, let's see how things go this year at North Carolina on the field, right? I said in that video I did the other day about Jay Wright, which brings me back to a topic that I jumped off of earlier. You know, Jay Wright does not need basketball like Bill Belichick needs football. That's why Jay Wright's not coaching right now. Jay Wright is a pretty normal guy. He's just rounded out well. Right? He's just a member of society who brings a lot to any room that he walks into. Bill Belichick is not that dude. Okay? He's a savant. Bob Kraft called him an idiot savant off the record once. I read that in the book. I don't believe that Bill Belichick's an idiot. But I do think that he is not really the edges are certainly not soft for him as a human being. He's just rough around the edges. And I do think this too, when you look at his career, all the unpopular decisions he made, first of all, and I'm going deep into the Bill Belichick thing, when he was coaching in Cleveland, he benched Bernie Kosar. Like, I'm telling you, everybody was losing their minds, okay, because Bernie Kosar was a legend in Cleveland. When he was coaching the Patriots, obviously everybody knows about the story with Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. And at the time, that was not a popular move. People were climbing all over him for that. So I don't think he's at all bothered by the public opinion. And I don't think I'm breaking any news, but the public being like not on his side, like it's not like he's going to break because of that. At some point, maybe, and again, like you see in real life, I had it happen to me in my orbit just recently with a close friend of mine. And it wasn't this close friend, but it was a member of his family. I think that like people get involved and they start to talk to you and they get through to you. So I don't necessarily know that this relationship is like going to go the distance. And I think that Bill Belichick could maybe, as some people would say, like Cher in Moonstruck, snap out of it, right? When she slaps Nick Cage twice. Okay. She needs like, or Belichick needs like Bill Parcells to show up and slap him twice and say, snap out of it. Or just needs to understand or come to the realization that this is a bad move for him, career-wise and legacy-wise. If he does, when he does, I think that we get back to football and all of a sudden people are like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's an amazing football coach. And we may not have to wait too long. I think it's like 93 days from college football kickoff, which is like amazing. Cannot wait for that. More things to talk about that I wrote down. Aaron Rodgers, right? Getting $15 million, 10 guaranteed to coach the Steelers. To play quarterback for the Steelers at 41 years of age, improving the Steelers' odds to go to the playoffs to like plus 150 from like plus 250 or plus 300. I don't know, man. I don't see it. Unless he's in a situation where he can be like a caretaker, but that's just not who the guy is. When you look at his numbers from last year, by the way, the quarterback position, like statistics are so hard. It's almost, and I'm not saying it's like the steroid era in baseball, but the game is so different. Aaron Rodgers, his season last year with the Jets, I think ranked top 3 in the organization's history for touchdown passes and overall passing yardage. This is off the top of my head, but I read that last night, and I could be like off a tiny bit. And like he was, I think, ranked 25th out of 32 quarterbacks who had enough passing attempts or enough snaps to register in the QBR ranking in overall NFL. So think about that. Like he set records for the Jets, but yet he was probably the 25th best quarterback that qualified for QBR rating last year. Like, and he has a guy. I don't know that like the change of scenery. I think I'm fine with Aaron Rodgers. He's exciting. I want him to keep playing. I think it's more interesting when a dude like that is actually under center playing. It's just interesting. He's going on Pat McAfee saying all kinds of stuff that makes people freak out. And like, I don't know. It's just like I was telling Christy today, like Sabalenka, like losing the French Open to Coco Gauff, like, and just kind of going off. Like, people have issue with her maybe not being accountable, Sabalenka, or like, blaming it on other people. Like, look, the woman's a spitfire. She keeps it interesting. Aaron Rodgers is the same way. I enjoy Aaron Rodgers, and he's one of the best, most accurate passers I've ever seen. But that time has come and gone. And I think he is better than any alternative the Steelers had. So I'm not knocking at all the acquisition of Aaron Rodgers. But I am saying I don't think it's going to mean much for them. And, yeah, is he better than Mason Rudolph? Yeah, sure. So was the guy I'm looking at down there on the beach chair. It's just – so what are you going to do about that? NBA, the draft is June 26th. I'm so pumped to continue to, like, have people on this show to handicap the draft and talk to us about it. We talked with Matt Babcock about 2 weeks ago. We talked with Paul Biancardi a little before that. We talked with King McClure about the draft too about a week and a half ago. I want to have a couple more guys on. I think Timmy Welsh, former coach of Providence, ESPN analyst, dude I work with a bunch, is going to come on in the coming weeks. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to ask him. I want to talk to Scott Williams about it too. I also want to talk to Scott about the finals. So I'm looking to have him on this week or next week. But Cooper Flagg is going to work out for the Mavericks on June 16th. Mavericks are the only team he's working out for. He's the only guy they're working out. I don't even know if it'll be a workout so much as it'll be a face-to-face meeting. Whether they've had one before or after, I don't know. But that looks like it's a done deal. It is a done deal. And the Mavs have a decision to make before the end or maybe at the end of next year. Kyrie is due like $30-40 million on a player option. And what was he, 19 in 2011 when he came out? So let's see, 2021. He's not a spring chicken. He's like 34, right? So there'll be some more decisions for the Mavs front office to make. But certainly turning the page on this whole Luka debacle is something they're looking forward to do with this Cooper Flagg pick. Don Nelson was given the Chuck Daly Award tonight, right? For like, and that award is given out. I think Bertie Bickerstaff got it a little bit ago. It's kind of like for your years of service. I mean, Don Nelson he's an amazing coach. I think only Greg Popovich has more wins as an NBA coach than Don Nelson does. But what did Don Nelson do? He wore a pair of Luka 4s, right? And was like, I'm wearing these shoes to protest the Mavericks trading Luka. This trade happened in February. And Don Nelson is showing up at the NBA Finals, giving the big middle finger salute to the Mavs still. Like, yeah, maybe they won't ever get over it. I don't know. But you do get to turn the page, and you do get the number one pick. And anybody who says that Cooper Flagg is overrated, I couldn't disagree with you more. When you and again, talking to people, doing what I do with ESPN. I don't have I am not a former NBA scout, right? I'm not a former college basketball coach, but I'm around them. And guys that know a lot more than I do are big on Cooper Flagg. And one of the reasons is he was the number one player coming in to his class last year, and he over-delivered. Like he averaging almost 20 points a game playing. You can say the ACC is a little light, but He took his team all the way to the Final Four, where they lost off of, you could say, a miscue by him, a jumper that missed by that much. But he did everything he needed to do and more to make folks in NBA front offices and personnel people feel very good about him. So why shouldn't I? And why shouldn't the Mavericks? That's an exciting deal for the Mavs. And if I were them, I would be pumped. Something I want to get into more as I have more time. And I really need, I'm not going to like we talked to NCAA sports attorney Mitt Winter about a month, maybe a month and a half ago here on this show. We got a ton of views. Everybody was super interested in it because we talked about the guardrails with the NCAA, what's going on with NIL. So the House settlement came down late Friday night. Schools on July 1st will now be able to pay their own players, right? So everybody knows, or if you don't know, we're looking at what will be a salary cap of probably estimated around $20.5 million. And schools will have that amount of money to pay their players. Now, there is also pay their athletes, right? Now, there is also, by the way, that's why a lot of these coaches, basketball coaches in particular, are falling in love. Like, what's the guy, Kevin, I forget his last name now, Kevin Willard, who left Maryland to go to Villanova. Well, Villanova, their football team just went to the Patriot League. The Patriot League, when I was getting recruited, and I think this is still the case, they don't give out like full scholarships, right? You kind of like piecemeal it together. Villanova playing last year, maybe they were still in the Yankee Conference. I don't know. They used to give out full Division I football scholarships. That could change a little bit. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not as attractive for college basketball coaches now to coach at Maryland as it is to go to a school maybe in the Big East that's just a basketball school, because you can put the lion's share of your $20.5 million for the athletic department, right? You can put it towards your basketball team or your basketball program. The outlier here, and where we're still in, there's a huge like gray area, is the fact of the matter that you still have these collectives, right, that are like private groups that are going to try to hide behind NIL deals. So it's like if I have Jimmy's Tractor Company in Lubbock and I want Scotty Swingler to come play football for me, I'll have Scotty do a tractor commercial. And Scotty's the best. He's a 5-star quarterback, right? And let's say he's from somewhere in Texas, but he's the best player in the country. Well, maybe I'll give Scotty $15 million to do a 30-second spot for a tractor ad. Those are some of the fears now, and some of the more policing that'll go on. So now the NCAA and Charlie Baker and the president, they're going to ask Congress to get involved. And you know what's crazy about this? Like, sorry, clutch your pearls, whatever. Donald Trump is playing golf tomorrow with Greg Sankey and somebody else, another college sports executive. It's not Chris Delaconte, but it's Greg Sankey, or maybe if I'm saying the last name wrong, I think I'm right, is the commissioner of the SEC. And he's not playing with Brett Yormark. Maybe he's playing, obviously, the commissioner of the Big 12, somebody from the Big 10. But Trump asked these dudes to come play golf with him. So they're going to Bedminster to play golf with Trump. And everybody's trying to figure out like how the United States government can get involved to keep an eye on some of this stuff. Meantime, Charlie Baker is saying like, oh, the worst is behind us. Like, I don't know about that, dude. But this is a huge, huge situation. And although athletic departments have been gearing up for this, because now they've got people who are going to have to go ahead and make sure all of this is instituted, paying players. Like, it makes me tired to think about what it would be like to be a college head coach and a college administrator, like one of my favorite guys of all time, David Kay at Baylor, right? Like, DK was like a sports information guy. Then he was like an assistant AD, and then he was over the NIL. And I can guarantee, because he's such a smart, effective, talented, still young guy working in an athletic department for Baylor, that he's going to now have some hand or some oversight of what is going on now with payments to athletes. And it's like, it's too much for me. I mean, I could barely get out of track 3 math at Archbishop Carroll. So I don't know. It's exhausting. But I just hope that we're in a better place with college sports and we're moving towards a better place. Like there's guys who are now going to get paid if you played from 2016 through like, I guess last year, if you're no longer active, like you'll be getting a payment now to make up for some of your time. And there's a lot to talk about with that. I want to see if there's one more topic I had. I wrote some other stuff down on my phone. I told you about Jay Wright. Yep, Simmons versus Torrey. Beetle versus Stephen A. Smith. The Seth Davis broke the story, which Seth had actually tweeted that. And he's been Jay Wright's buddy for a long time. But Seth Davis did tweet that he thought that there was no way that Jay would take the job. And then he actually reported that Jay had talked to Leon Rose and the Knicks about the job and had turned it down. So that is no surprise. What the Knicks are going to do will be super interesting. Like, is that going to be – let's check this out real quick before we go. Odds to be the Knicks coach, okay? NBA odds, Knicks. I'm always terrible at this. Knicks coach. Okay. All right, let's check it out. Here we go. This was updated as of 10 hours ago. Okay. So this is DraftKings. Okay. Let's see here. So this next segment is presented by DraftKings. We would love for you to be a sponsor. Wow. Jason Kidd is the favorite. Minus 180. You know, it's funny. I remember right after Utah's basketball season ended, Alex Jensen left the Mavericks to go be the head coach at Utah. Jay Kidd leaving to go anywhere but Dallas is now interesting because you've got the number 1 pick in the draft coming your way. But Jay Kidd is the favorite. Johnny Bryant is plus 130. He's next in line. Michael Malone is plus 650. Steve Nash. Keep your eye on that one. Steve Nash at plus 2,000. Taylor Jenkins plus 2,500. Rick Brunson plus 3,000. Frank Vogel plus 3,000. Jeff Van Gundy plus 3,500. And Danny Hurley's in there at plus 2,000. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know that Jay Kidd would be like amazing. I just remember him as a Nets coach. And obviously he took the Mavs to the finals. Who would my first choice be if I was a Knicks fan? It would probably be Jason Kidd. Oh, no. It would be Mike Malone. It would be Mike Malone for sure. Yeah. So I would hire Mike Malone because I think that Mike Malone, who's won a championship, could take them the Knicks to that next level. And I think the Thibodeau firing was totally justified. You need somebody to take you to that next level. So I wasn't shocked by that at all. The more and more we hear that like James Dolan was involved is kind of freaky because you had heard like he backed off recently and the team has their best season in 25 years and now he reemerges to start making changes. All right, but I think that wraps it up here. I mean, I just went almost an hour straight. Thanks to you guys for hanging in there with us and watching. I wanted to do maybe a little more reaction from the Thunder and the Pacers. Final score 127-103. Again, you're watching the Pete Souza Show. We are live in Maui at the Hyatt Regency Resort. Props to sobriety too, right? This is what happens. You know, I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of 13 years ago. Now I got a nice balcony to look over before I go home back to my job, just like you guys. One more look at the box score. Halliburton, like I said, 17 points, 3 of 8 from 3. So Indiana was 14 of 40 from 3. That's actually not terrible, 35%. Oklahoma City was 14 of 36 for 38%. Shea Gilgeous, 34 points after having 32. That guy is so good. That's the last thing I guess I'll say, and it goes back to the NBA ratings discussion. I don't think it's a knock on Tyrese Halliburton or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that the ratings for this series, or at least game one, were down. I don't think that. I literally think it's just two small market teams. Again, Indiana ranked 22nd in the NBA as far as their market size is concerned, and Oklahoma City's 26. And I think a couple were tied. So it just kind of like bumps you down, or bumps you up, actually, numbers wise. I don't think it's like a knock on. Like, I hear Mad Dog Russo, who I love, like, will say, yeah, Shai Gilgeous isn't bringing people to the table. Like, I don't believe that. I just think that it's a product of his environment. That if SGA was playing in New York or LA, he was playing in LA for a while, and people were talking about him a lot. So I don't believe that. I don't believe it's the players. I believe it is the market size. And I do think it would help the NBA in the finals if the Pacers would just kind of slug it out with Oklahoma City. I know we're tied 1-1, and you look on paper and you say, okay, it's 1-1. Where do we go from here? But there's a reason why Oklahoma City was a 10.5-point favorite tonight. And there's a reason why they covered. And there's a reason why they're still favored. So I ultimately like Oklahoma City in this one. It's funny because we're here in Hawaii. I was actually going to put a couple shekels on the Pacers to win because their odds were 7-1. But I didn't. By the way, what about the Big 12 and Texas Tech? I was disappointed to see Najee Kennedy and Texas Tech come up short. Obviously, calling about a Big 12 softball and having the opportunity to do the Big 12 tournament. Texas was just too good. And it is kind of amazing to see how good these young women are. And a lot of the analysts were talking about it before the game. They had the Texas Longhorns figured out a way to time up Najee Kennedy. And they said, yeah, she's overpowering and she's so good. But in game 3, after seeing her for 14 innings straight, the timing had gotten down, and they exploded for 5 runs in the first, and you knew it was game over. And what sucks for Texas Tech is they should have won game 1. So they could have gotten out of there 2-0 with a win, a College World Series win. But instead, the Longhorns get there first. That girl Mia Scott was amazing. And, it sucks. I would have liked to see Texas Tech win, but good for Texas too, right? All right, hook 'em, guns up, whatever you want to say. We'll be back tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Tuesday, but this is going to be the show for Monday. And that's it. We got a big week for you. So much to talk about. Thank you for checking us out. I'm seeing right now 17,000 people are on Twitter watching. I don't know that you're watching intently, but you are watching. If I could turn the camera around, Christy's getting undressed right now to go in the shower, but I'm not going to do that because I wonder, would you sue me if I did that?
I'm wearing a bathing suit. I'm fine.
She's wearing a bathing suit. She's fine. I'm trying to up the,
Might go down.
It might go down. No, I don't think so. I'll kick my coverage, Christy. Yeah, really cool having you guys to be able to do this tonight. One last thing I do want to say is it's very cool to be in Maui, where my brother Kevin spends so much time. And even though he is gone, I feel like he's still with me. And I can't wait. I'm going home to Philly next week. I get to tell my mom about that. I'm literally looking at the bridge where they put his ashes out, some of his ashes, right? Crazy. He spent a ton of time here. I met 3 people out here who knew him, and each time I'm talking to these 3 separate individuals who are like, "Oh my gosh, you're Kevin's brother." A couple people actually sought me out. 2 of the 3. Are you Pete? Are you Kevin's brother? And they talk to me and they get emotional. They start to cry talking about my brother. And I'm like, my father. I can't, I've stuffed everything so far down. I can't get there with these people, but it's really awesome to know the amazing impact my brother Kevin Souza had out here on people in Maui and in Hawaii. I know he and his wife had talked about moving out here. Obviously, they were robbed of that opportunity because he died of cancer 2 years ago, but You know, I'm looking out here, and you know, he wanted me to do stuff like this. He was always behind me. When I couldn't get sober for a long time, he told me he was like hardcore. You know, he's like, call me when you get 90 days. I called him from rehab. I was like, I'm cured. He's like, dude, call me when you get 90 days. Yeah, it's special to be out here, and I can definitely feel him. You know, which is way cool. Which is way cool, and like I kind of needed a retreat like this, I guess, to get closer to him or something. I don't know. I'm talking way too much. So I will wrap it up. But yeah, want to dedicate this one, like I always do, to my brother. And I think of him every time before I go on the air, calling a game for ESPN or anybody else. I always picture him telling me that I'm an effing idiot. And it makes me smile, you know? So I'm smiling now. All right, guys. I'll be back on Tuesday. A live show. We'll be coming back to you from Central Texas. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching and it's Monday, have a great rest of the week. We'll see you. End stream, right? Yep, end stream. Let's do an outro video. We got to pay the bills here, right? Okay. Set his outro video.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The You-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at youlike.com, because at YouLike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. YouLike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
And paste.
sports.